Hello guys, I welcome you to this new edition of my Django class. In this particular video, I am going to take you through building a portfolio website. Now we are going to be building a portfolio project on Django, and we're going to be starting from the very basic of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and finally we are going to wrap it up with Python, which we're going to be diving in from the Django framework. And I am very excited to take you through this course. Now let's go. All right. I have a folder here, and I can right click on this folder and go to show more options and open with code. So my IDE just open. I am making use of the Visual Studio Code IDE, but you can make use of any of your favorite IDEs out there. You can make use of Sublime Text, Atom, Notepad++, whichever IDE. But I prefer making use of the Visual Studio Code. So guys, let's go. Now I am going to create my index.html because I want us to be building this whole thing with starting from with our HTML. So let's get started. So index.html, and I am going to do one more thing. I am going to create a folder here. I am going to call it assets. And inside of the assets, I am going to create the CSS folder, and within the assets folder again, I am going to create the JS folder. Within these same assets, I am going to create another folder for my images. All right, having done this, let's come back to our HTML and start creating. Now, how did I arrive at this? Can simply use type HTML:5, hit enter, and you have this. So I am going to change this to my name, which is Nonyelo Richard. That's my name, guys. In case you don't know my name, this is an opportunity for you to know my name. All right, now let's bring in our Bootstrap to this, because I'll be making use of the Bootstrap CDN. But before then, let's create our CSS file. I am going to create styles.css. I don't know, I made a mistake on the spelling of styles. Styles.css, and that's all. Let's just do some basic tasks, like on the body. Let's work there. Let's say padding 0, margin 0, sorry, not margin right, but actually margin. I want to remove all these things because I have prediction. Margin also 0, and then box sizing, I want it to be border box, and that's all. Let's bring it into the HTML by using link and stars.css. And that's all for now. Let's just use h1 to say hello world and see what we have. So I can right click on anywhere, go down, and open with live server. All right, so this is what we have. Actually, our CSS was not running because we can still see padding and margin here. So let's go there and see what the problem is. All right, it came from the arrangement of our style, which came from assets under the CSS folder. Let's do that. So we can say assets slash CSS and slash this, and hopefully this is going to run. And you can see, guys, there is no more padding and margin there. Okay, so let's get back. Let's look for our Bootstrap. We can come back here and open a new tab, and we look for getbootstrap.com, and then go to the Bootstrap documentation, and from there let's go to the first page of Bootstrap, and let's copy the CSS. This is the CDN for the CSS. We copy that and we take it to our website. Just under here we paste it for the CSS, and we come down here just below the body ending tag, and we go back to the Bootstrap and we copy the JS CDN, and we also come back to our Visual Studio Code and paste that. And if you come back to my website, you can now see this is now working with the default Bootstrap font. So our Bootstrap is fully installed and working perfectly. Let's get to the second phase of this training. So on the second phase, we want to structure our website with semantic HTML. So let's use semantic HTML this time around. So, but I'll be making use of the class semantic HTML. So let's do that with .header. And within the header, we are going to have .logo for our logo, and it's going to contain a little image. Okay, and or rather, since I don't have an image logo, let's use h2 tag for the logo, and we can say my name, non-yellow, and let's leave it that way. Oh, sorry, this is a little bit, there is a little bit of mistake. So header and then dot logo, I deleted it, and I paste this, and I will have another component which is going to contain the navigation. So this is going to be .nav, and that's gonna contain my navigation and this list. And it's gonna be an unordered list of items like home, about, services, and contact. So in these services, I am going to add it as projects, because this is a portfolio website. Projects. One more thing, we can also, okay, we have about, and it's gonna be about me, and contact me. So that's all. Let's make this one a capital letter, and that's all for now on the header. Then back to the main section is gonna be .main, and within the main is gonna contain all other things that I don't want to write about now, but let's also have another one which is going to be the footer, and it's gonna be .footer, and it's gonna contain a paragraph for my copyright, and that's all. I'm gonna make this one to 2024, and I am done with this. All right, so let's see what we have done so far. Let's see. Okay, I can just open, since my server is running. So this is what I have. So I can just now adjust everything with my Visual Studio Code, within my Visual Studio Code, with my what is it called, with my style. So let's work on the style. For the header, we have dot header, and this is going to contain carry out all the logics about our desktop. I am going to do the other one on the mobile as an off canvas navigation. So but for now I want this one to only display on the desktop browser. So that's why I am doing this for now. So let's use media. So let's comment. Let me have a comment. Desktop only. And for the desktop only, let's have a media query for that. And let's change the font size to font 16. Let's see. Oh my God. Let's see what we will have. This one should get out of this place. Okay. Okay. So, and I don't want to waste my time here. So what we do is, let's look into the header, and the header contains two items, which are logo and the nav, and we want to display them to flex. So let's do that. So dot header, we want to display it to display flex. Let's see what happened here. So you can see it is displaying side by side, but let's escape from this. It is no more displaying side by side. So I think this is awesome. Now let's also give it a background color of black, and we also need to justify it to space between, and as well align items to center. Give it a background color of black. I love black so much, I don't know why. What else should we do to this? I think we have done something good. Okay, so you can see what we have there. Let's add a margin. Let's add some margin left and right. Margin, or rather let's use margin left, margin dash left. Sorry guys, margin left to 8 pixels, and the same thing on the right, margin right as well as 8 pixels. So let's see what we would have there. Or that's not what I want, so I'm gonna remove this margin. Okay, then the next one is we're gonna work on the logo. So we're gonna do dot header space dot logo, and we're gonna do some certain things like font size, color, and font weight, just to make it a little bit bolder. Let's see what we got there. You can see what we got there. Now let's also work on these ones. We need to arrange them side by side to each other, and that's what we are going to do now on dot header dot nav. And on this, we're going to display it to flex and then set the list style to none. And next thing is to add a margin to, I think the margin should come from the left. Is it left or right? So let's try margin right. Let's set it to 12 pixels. Let's see what will happen. There is an issue. I want to remove this flex display here. Okay, let's see what will happen. Okay, that's good now. One more thing, we need to work on the header, dot, because it's a class. Since it's a class, that's why we must use dot. So dot header dot nav space UL for the unordered list. We want to work on that. Let's now display it to flex and align to center, and we have this. Let's try that margin and see. You know, I don't have any UI that I'm working with, so that's why we have to always do all this trial. Okay, so we have a little margin here. I can still work on the margin, like make it 18 so that it will be elaborate. Let's see what we have. Okay, that's okay now. And I am also going to do one more thing. This, I'm going to remove this list style of none. Then finally, I am going to work on the list items, which I am going to just copy this one and paste it here, and then add li, and I'm going to set the list style to none. Oh God, list style set to none. Let's see. Okay, so that has been taken care of. One more thing, I'll copy this one, paste it here, and add a to it. And at this point, I am going to change the color to white, and then text decoration to none, and give it a padding of 10 pixels, and then a little transition. And that's what you just saw. Let's refresh it again so that you see. Okay, so this is what we now have. As you can see here, let's do one more thing. I want to do one more thing. So let's try to make the list items to be on hover effect. Let's try it. So let's try that. Hover. So on hover, we want to give it a background color of this and cursor pointer, and then we want to also change border radius as well as margin and font weight to bold, and then border none. Let's try and see what we got there. Let's refresh. Okay, you can see what we have there. Okay, I think this is awesome. Or should we just make it something like purple? Let's make the background purple, or something like this. I think this is okay for the background color when hover. Okay, so this is awesome. Let's increase the padding a little bit. Okay, we didn't have any padding on it. Let's add some padding to it. Padding, not auto, but let's make it padding 12 pixels. Let's see what we will have there. Oh, much bigger than what it should be. Let's reduce it to 8 pixels, and now this will be fine. This is better. Okay, and let's get to the header and increase the padding on the header. So on the header we didn't have any padding there, so let's add some padding to it. Let's add some padding of 12 pixels to the header, and this is okay. So I think this is fine now. But if you look closely now, you see that this is not displaying on small screen devices. It is only displaying from this breakpoint. So that is actually what I want to achieve. So I will now work on the mobile breakpoint from the Bootstrap. Okay, so this is just to train you a little bit on how to manipulate HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap together to achieve a good looking UI. So this is, I hope this is helpful to the beginners out there. I am doing this video actually to guide the beginners, because I had the difficulties, these difficulties of finding a way to solve my portfolio project or build my portfolio project when I was starting. But this is me here, and I am doing these things because I now know it perfectly, and I just hope that one day you'll be good to go. Okay, let's go to one more thing I want to do is I want this breakpoint to also apply to the what is it called, the tablet. So let's change it to 712 on the breakpoint. 712 on the breakpoint for that. So now the breakpoint will start from 712. I think it's good looking, and from mobile it enters to this. This is okay for me. It's okay. I don't know what you want to do and how you want to do it, but this is okay for me. All right. So let's get to Bootstrap. I am going to go to Bootstrap, and we go to the Bootstrap documentation, and we look for nav. We look for nav. So we are going to look for off canvas. Let's try navbar. All right, so this is off canvas navbar. So if you click on it here, you'll see the behavior. So this is what we call off canvas, and this is the code that gives us the off canvas. And I'm going to click on this to copy it. I'll take it to my HTML. So let's close this up. I'll take it to my HTML, and either anywhere on the top or below I can paste it. So let me paste it at the top, and I need to comment this so that we know where each one started. So I am going to say desktop starts here, desktop header. Then at the top here, I am going to also say meanwhile, let's also wrap it on header, and it's very important that I do wrap it on this header. Okay. Now at the top, I will also comment it and say mobile header starts here. And this is how I decide to do it. There are so many ways we can still do this, but I want to do it separately. That's why you are seeing something like this. And this place, I am going to change it to my name as Nonyelo. And even this place, I am also going to change it to Nonyelo. And there are some couple of things that I would want to remove. I would want to remove this this drop down. I would want to remove it. Remove this one, and then this is gonna be about me. Let's copy this. And this is gonna be projects. And then this is gonna be contact me. Okay, and then we already have home here, and it is the active navbar. Okay, I think this is done. Let's see how it looks on this website. You can see that it is still displaying even in the desktop. So we need to do something. First of all, let's target it with the class of navbar. Is gonna be the class of navbar. Okay, so navbar. So let's go to the CSS, and here we are going to say mobile only display. Let's see. So at the mobile only display, I don't want to display the other one, which is this first one. I don't want to display the dot header, so I'm going to say dot header, and I am going to set the display to none. Meanwhile, we are going to first of all have this at media, and within it we are going to I am going to remove this one and I am going to do it here. So this is going to be dot header, and the display is what I want to work on. Display none. Let's see if that is working. Let's see. Yeah, so the display is no longer showing on the mobile screen. So one more thing, I want the display of the mobile not to display on the desktop as well. So we must have also do that this place. So it's going to be a class of navbar. So we're going to say dot nav dash bar, and we're going to set the display as none. So let's see what we've got there. Meanwhile, it's still showing on this on the this thing. So we need to actually do a lot of things there. All right, guys, I did some couple of modifications. So what I did was I targeted this header on the larger screen and set the display to none so that it won't bother us again. So you can see if we move to this breakpoint, we achieve this, but if we move back, we tend to achieve this. So this is what we've got. So let me show you what I did. That's on the HTML here. I don't want to display this particular one on the desktop. So because I don't want to display it on the desktop, I went ahead to my CSS, and on the breakpoint for Carousel. So let's head on to the Bootstrap example, and we can actually select any of these. So this one is for cover. Well, this one is a carousel. I think I'll go for this carousel. You know, you can download Bootstrap example. Let me show you. You can download Bootstrap example, I think from here, download Bootstrap example. And when you download it, you can see these codes. But because of time, I wouldn't want to waste any time. So that's why I'll be using this method. And I think this method is also very helpful. So let's go there or click on this. And you can see the slider that it also moves. Okay, so let's see what we have here. uh what I will do here is I am going to copy this slider, or else if I don't want to use this method, I can simply go back to my Bootstrap documentation. And if you move down here, you're going to see I think Carousel a bit. You're going to see something like that. Okay, so this is it, Carousel. So you can simply come here and you see all the different carousels or sliders that you can actually use. So it doesn't mean that that method that I want to use now is the most or the best method. So you can simply do this one as well to get what you want. I hope that is clear. So I'll copy this uh, and do something with it. There is something I'm looking at. I'm looking at something. Um, okay, so let's use this one. Back to our website. This is what we have before. We can come back here and let's make this thing a container fluid. It's gonna be a container fluid, and within it we are going to have this. Let's see what we have there. So there is no image for the sliders, so we're gonna get some images. I'll go to my file manager and go to my pictures. I will need some pictures. I don't actually have some good pictures. Let's see if I can get any from here. um, there are no better pictures here, and I might not have that time to start, doing some modifications to this. So I may just copy this like that and come back to my images under the assets and do paste. I'll paste all of them here. Let's get some other images. I think we need better images that are fit for carousels or sliders. I don't have any better one here, but I think some of these images, some images like this can do. Let's also paste them here. The images. Okay. So now let's put up the images. So the first image, I'm going to put my image. Source is going to be assets slash images and slash this. Okay, the second one is gonna be source assets slash images. Let's use one of my picture and see if it will be perfect fit for it. And then we can also use assets slash images, and then we can use project one for that. Let's see what we have there on the. Okay, so you can see the slider. The slider is very big. We can control the height as well. You can control the height, but this is the slider, and you can see these are the sliders, and these are the sliders. So we need to control the height of these images so that they will be fit. Back to this. Okay, so we look for the images. Okay, so this is the images. Image. Okay, so this at this place I can just set the height to say 300 pixels. I don't know if this is good. Let me do the same thing. I'll just copy this and do it on the second image as well as the final image. The third image, where is it? So this is it. Do it here. Let's refresh and we can see what we have here. And it shrinks this image. But one thing I want you to do for me is some of the times you get to have these things. Prepare yourself ahead of time. Prepare your images. I didn't plan to make this video. It just came to my mind, and I decided to do this video. But believe me, during the uh, uh, if we are to move into the dynamic rendering, then I am going to make everything to work as a dynamic images. During the time when we will be working on Django, I would have done a beautiful image that will be fit for these things. So, but let's increase the height a little bit, let's say 400, and see what we would have. Let's see what we would have. Let's see. I think 400 is also good, but let's see what we would have here. I think these are they are not bad. They are not bad. Let's see what it will look on the other breakpoint. Not bad, not too bad, but let's add some height again. Let's make it a height of 500 pixels. I think 500 pixels would be okay. 500 and 500. Save it. Let's see what we have. Okay, so this is fine. This is better. But when you are working on this, please try as much as possible to have your images ready so that they are fit. When someone is looking at them, it is fit. It doesn't shrink, or maybe when you are trying to readjust to fit into your pages, you scatter the image dimension. I don't actually would not want to waste our precious time trying to do some of these things. One more thing I would want to do is let's add some padding to this. Sorry, margin in the y direction. Let's make it to 2, or rather, let's leave it at 3. And padding in the y direction, let's leave it at 2. Let's see what we will have. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's see this place. It doesn't work better here, so let's make it sm dash. Or rather, let's remove this margin and padding since it didn't work well with what we want to do. So guys, I'll continue this video in our next episode, because I don't like my video getting too long. But most of the time I find out that out of trying to explain concepts, I extend the time that I stay on my desktop trying to teach. So I'll leave the code, I'll leave the link to my GitHub repository for this particular course, so that you can fork it and use it to do your own. And we'll see in our next class, in next episode, where we'll be looking into the other components. But if actually I do not have that much time to work on the components, I am going to leave the previous portfolio website that we did on Bootstrap here. And what we are going to do is we're going to be using that particular template to work on our Django and make it a dynamic website. Okay, see you next time. Take care. Hello guys, I welcome you back once more to the final phase of our Django project on portfolio. So we are building a portfolio website using Django, and we made use of HTML, custom CSS, and Bootstrap 5 for our front end. I did some modifications to our previous code, and what we have now is still basically the same code, which is my title, returning my name, and my custom CSS, which you can see here on the assets folder. You can see it here, and some Bootstrap CDN, and here is my mobile navigation, and down here is my desktop navigation. And in my CSS, I have this custom CSS, which I used to hide some of the mobile and the desktop from each of their platforms, just to make it responsive. And in my JS, I don't have anything for now. I am making use of the Bootstrap JS, which is found just below here. So this is what the website will look like basically now. So this is what we have now. And if you click on About Me, it takes you to the About Me. If you click on Projects, it takes me to the projects. And this is one page portfolio website, and if you click on contact me, and it takes you to the contact me. If you click on the home, it returns you back to the home. So this is what I have officially here on my front end, and I would want to convert this to a dynamic website using Python framework that is known as Django. So let's move to our IDE, and of course, I have already added this to my GitHub repository, so I am going to make it available to you guys after this lesson. Let me just show you. You can just simply go to my GitHub and you see this project. It is called Portfolio Project 1, and this is a brief description of what you really need to do to follow it up. And as you can see here, I only have HTML and CSS because I haven't implemented the backend. So let's get started with the backend. I'm going to close the Bootstrap website and just open this because we want to make sure that this doesn't break up. So let's get to this. So this is my front end. I would create another folder, and I'll call it my backend. And what I'll do now is I am going to run my terminal. So let's open our terminal, and in the terminal I'll be working with the visual command prompt, which is the Windows CMD. So I prefer making use of the command prompt because of how fast it is on Windows machines. So let's cd into backend, cd backend, enter, and we move into the backend directory. Let's clear this with CLS, and let us activate create a virtual environment. So to create a virtual environment, I am going to say python-m venv, and I am going to call it my env for my environment, and it's gonna create a virtual environment for me. The virtual environment is still in the process of creation, but this is just what we have on the backend. So now my virtual environment has completely installed, or created rather. I am going to activate it by calling on the name of the virtual environment, which in my case is my env, and /scripts /activate.bat, and hit enter, and you can see my virtual environment has been activated. That's because I am using Windows, so that's why I have to run this particular command. But if you are making use of Linux or Mac, your command is a little bit different from this. So your command should be source space the name of your virtual environment /bin/activate, and that's for the Mac and the Windows users. So let's since we have our virtual environment activated, what we need to do now is to install Django. And to install Django, we use pip install Django, because we'll be working with Django, and we wait for it to install Django for us. All right, guys, Django is now installed on our virtual environment, so we can just clear this off. What next we need to do is we have to create a Django project. So to create a Django project, I am going to use Django-admin start project, and and space, I am going to call it portfolio, and I am going to space and dot just to tell Django not to create an additional folder for this project. Just let it be on the same directory with my virtual environment. So I'll hit enter now, and Django is going to create this. If you go to the backend, you can see we have a virtual environment, which is my env, and we also have manage.py, and we have portfolio. So this is because we call this portfolio. So this is my project. I am going to start an app with Django -admin start app. I hope you already know what an app, a Django app, is. If you don't know what it is just a component of the project. So most of the components of the project can be separated for easy management. So because of it, we can separate them using the Django app. So most of the Django applications are just components of the Django project, just like that. So I'll call this one, I'll call it app bio. So look at the convention, let's just call it app, or let me call it, let's call it app. Let's call it app. So we hit enter, and it's going to create another app. You can see it here. It created an app, and within the app you have the migrations, you have the init.py, admin.py, apps.py, models.py, test.py, and views.py. So the views.py is where the logic about the view, what the user will see, will be located. It basically contains functions or classes that will return a particular view to the user. So that is just it. You know that Django is an MVT platform, so which means that Django manages model view templates, which is the model representing the database. It's just a set of objects or class object that returns a table, or what we can call the database of any application. So that's the model. So the model brings in or manages the database and give it to the view. Now the view will now contain the functions that handle the logic on how that information or that data is transferred to the template. Now when the data is transferred to template, that is when the user will see it. So the templates are basically HTML elements. So that's just it. All right, so let's proceed. We have this now. So what we need to do is we need to tell Django project that we have an app here. So to do that, we go to portfolio, which is the project, and we go to settings.py. Let's close this HTML. We go to settings.py, and let me bring this down a little bit. Let's remove this comment because we don't actually need it. Let's look for the list of installed apps. So this is the list of installed apps. I am going to add the app that we created now, and it is app like this, and we separate it with a comma. That's all to tell Django about this app. It's now recognizing this app, but before then we also need to tell this the project to always look for URLs that are coming from the app. So what we need to do is we come to the app and we create a file that we call urls.py. Before I do anything on the urls.py, what we need to do now is to tell this Django project where to get the URLs of our app. And to do that, we come to the urls.py under the project. So this is the URLs under the project, and I am going to delete all these comments because I don't need them. Now, this is it. So what we need to do is to import include. So this is a function that will help us to include the app URLs. Now, we can then add this path. So we use the path and then we append it to the home directory or the home page, if you like, and we can say include because we want to include that. So include app.urls. So we have now included the URLs, and this is going to be a string in case you find this error. Include. I think there is a little bit of an issue here. What is the problem? Okay, it is just loading. I think this thing is taking a lot of time to load this because this is actually how it should be. Before then, I'm going to copy this. I am going to just copy this one. Copy. Why am I copying it? Because I don't want to start everything from scratch. So let me close the project now. Let's go back to the app. So on the app, I am going to the URLs that I created now. Let's close this one. In this URL, I am going to paste this one because actually I want to work with the Django URLs part. Now I don't need this admin. What I only need is this, and I don't also need this include for the app. So the only thing I will be needing is to import these views from view. So to do that, I am going to do from dot import views. So the reason why I am using dot is that this view exists within the same directory with my urls.py file. So the both of them exist within the same directory. So I want to import everything in the view, and that is why I am using from dot import views. So now let us do one view and then use it here. So for the views, we have this one. Django has already imported a shortcut called render for us. So let us have this function. So let's define a function. Let me call it home. So the home function is going to return a request and is going to return, sorry, not returning a request, but we are going to pass in a parameter called request, and then we return render. Now this render will help us to return our HTML, so we just need to pass in some parameters or arguments which include request and the name of our HTML. Let me call it index.html. That's all. So we now need to import that home. So the function we need to import now is home. So it's going to be views.home. So we are now returning this function in the URLs, and we are going to call it home just in case. So this is supposed to be a string. Okay, now this is all we need to do. Let us now run the server and see what we have there. Python manage .py run server. Hit enter, and all right, now the server is running, and we can hold control and right click on this, and it will take us the URLs. Okay, it says template does not exist. Now this template does not actually exist because Django cannot identify where to locate our template. So what we need to do now is we are going to come into the app, and we are going to create a template folder, and we call it templates. Now, within these templates, we are going to have our HTML. So I'm moving the HTML there. So you can now see the template. It's containing the index.html. Now my server should run perfectly. Let's rerun it. We need to close the server and run it back. Ctrl C to end the server, and just arrow up for the last command we did, and the server is running now. Let's check it back. Okay, so you can see now that my project is running, but my CSS is not working actually here, and my images are not also displaying. So what do we do to make sure that this is running perfectly? Let's come back to our Visual Studio Code, and let's pull this one down a little bit, and let's close the URLs, and as well close the views. Now on the app, we also need to create another folder, and we are going to call it static. So Django will recognize the static files within this static folder. So static files include your CSS, images, and JavaScript. So all of them should be found within the static directory. So I'm going to move this static into the assets folder into the static. Yes, so it's gonna move the assets now into the static directory. So it's gonna take some time because of the quantity of data we have there, but I'm going to pause the video until that is done. Okay, so now I have successfully moved the assets folder into the static directory. So we can just do some little changes to this place. Let me put this one down. We need to do some little changes, and the little changes is just to make sure that the Django is identifying our CSS. Now to do that, we need to use Django tag on this link. So we have to use Django tag there, and so that's what we need to do now. Sorry, not. Okay, then on the images as well, so that all our images will display perfectly. So there we have sorry, we have source, so we have to use this as well, and just to tell Django that these are static files, that it must need to understand how to read them. So I'll do the same thing here. All right, so we have done that now, and I hope that's all. I don't think there are other ones. That's all for now. All right, now let's pull this one up, the terminal up, and run Python manage.py run server. All right, let's see this. There is an issue, so it says static. Okay, now we need to load this static, so that's why we had this error. So at the top of our HTML, just at the top here, we'll bring in the Django tag. Sorry. And at the center here, we load static. So that's all. I don't know if we need to rerun the server. Let's just do that. Let's rerun the server and run the server again. Now the server is active. Let's go back to our website. There is one more issue. Okay, so we did not give a space here on line 63. So let's get the line 63 in the HTML. Line 63. And this is where the issue is coming from. Let's rerun, sorry, not Chrome. Let's rerun this again. And the website is running perfectly. Now, one more thing is we may need to render some of these things dynamically. Maybe we don't actually want to we actually want to make sure that whoever that we give this script to, instead of the person going into the HTML to edit these things, they can do that from their admin. So how do we do that? So we need to render a dynamic content instead of rendering static content that came from our HTML. We need to do that from our database, returning it from our database to this place. So let's do that. So now we come back to this. We need to close the server, as well as I am going to remove this one. Let's close the server with Ctrl+C. I am going to clear this off. Now we need to look into the models, but before I do that, I need to run my migration. So to do that, I am going to just say Python manage.py migrate, because Django already has some default database users. So I need to migrate that table so that I can work with other things. So let's do that. And you can see some of the migrations has been run. And let's do one more thing. Before we start the server back, let's go to the model to control the database that we have on this. So model. Now this is where our model is going to be situated, and the model is just the representation of our database, and it's just an object or a class of objects that contains everything about the object, or what we can call the attributes or properties of that object. So let's go to the HTML and see. So we have about. So the model is going to be about me, and we have bio, which here is going to be title, bio title, and then here is gonna be bio description, and here is gonna be, so there will be two projects, two models, I meant to say models, which include projects and about. So let's create the models. So from Django.db import models, Django has imported models for us, so we are going to make use of these models. So I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to call it about, or let's call it info, and it's going to inherit from models dot model, and it's gonna take in some of these properties like title, and it's gonna be a model dot char field. So this is gonna be title, and it's gonna be models dot char field. So char field means character field, and a maximum length of 50 characters. That should be enough to write my name. Okay, and or rather, let's make it 100 characters, and we are going to have also okay, let's leave it like that. One more thing is the description is gonna inherit from models dot text field. So this is gonna be text field, and let's pass in null is, sorry, this autocorrect sometimes, so we can pass in blank is equal to false, so we don't want it to be blank. And I think this is all that I need to do now. I don't need any other thing, because if you come to this place, I only have this, my name here, and this description. So that's all I will need for this place. Now for the final part of it, just to be able to see it on the backend, I will need to use this string method, string function underscore str, or something like this. Or rather, let's not go here, let's just remove this thing, we don't need it for now. So let's create the second class, and it's gonna be class projects. It's gonna be class projects, and just like this one, it is also going to inherit from models dot model, and it's gonna have project title is gonna be a character field, and project description, I don't know, this is slowing down. Project description is gonna be a model dot text field, and then the next thing is going to be the image of the project, and it's going to be image field, and we are going to upload it to project images directory. So we need to also make sure we create this directory here. So it's going to be project underscore images. So this is where our project images will be stored. Okay, so that's all for this. So we will go ahead to, you know, to do a migration for this. But before we do this migration, I would want you to do something. So what I want us to do is, first of all, let us bring this model to the view. So let's bring it to the view. So here we need to import the model. So we can say from dot models, import. So each of the model, the first one I think is info, and the second one I think it's projects. All right, so we have imported these models. Let's be sure that we are importing the right thing. Okay, so we made a mistake on the spelling, so it's projects. Okay, so I think by now, if this should be run, it should be able to get the actual project. All right, so to bring it into this home, we will need to assign it to a variable. So I am going to call this variable info, and it's gonna have this query set, info dot objects dot all. So this is because I want to get all the objects. That's what I am actually telling this thing, that I want it to get me all the objects and store it as a dictionary in this. So let's store it as a dictionary of okay, so let's have it here as info is assigned to this dictionary of let's pass it as info or something like this, or rather let's just pass it as context. So there is an issue here. So this is going to be context, which is equal to info as info. So we can then pass this context into this as a parameter, context. That should be all for now. So let's now run the migration. So to run the migration, we will now do Python manage.py make migrations. And this is going to, we have an issue. It says check, system check error. Some system check identify some issues, app.project.image. So field, so you cannot use image field because Pillow is not installed. So let's actually install Pillow, because Pillow is a Python package that we use to add image to our website. So let us add Pillow. So we can do pip install Pillow. So Pillow is now installed. Let's rerun that again. Python manage.py make migrations. Okay, so you can see two databases models have been created. Let's migrate it. Python manage.py migrate. Now everything has been sent to the database. Now one more thing is we need to create a super user to be able to manage this application. So we use Python manage.py create super user. Now I am going to call it my name, which is non-yellow. I am going to use my default email, and my password is going to be test123. Test123. So it will tell you that your password is weak, so you should use Y to override it, but make sure you use a strong password to secure your website. I'm just doing this because this is a tutorial video. All right, so I can clear off this with CLS, and I can now run Python manage.py run server. Okay, so we can now check it out. Let's be sure our site is still running. It says unbound local error, cannot access local variable info where it is not associated. So this is just coming from our view. It's coming from our view. So we don't actually need to do anything. So we'll talk about it later on. We will talk about it later on. But for now, what we are interested in is not the view, but the admin. So we can just go to the admin directory by just appending /admin to our URL, and it's going to take us to the admin page. And here I am going to log in to the admin. Okay, I am going to log in. Test123. So I am now logged in, and if you look at this, you will see that none of my applications are visible. So to make these applications or those databases, none of my migrations, those databases that I just created, are visible on the admin. So to make them visible on the admin, what I need to do now is to go to the admin.py and register it. So I'll go to the app directory and I will look for admin.py. Now before then, I am going to also import those databases. So I am going to do the same thing from dot models import info, and also import projects. And I am going to now register the apps with admin dot site dot register, and then I am going to register info. I'm going to register the info database. And if my server should rerun and I go to the admin again and refresh it, I should be able to see those things. I think my server is not active. Okay, it's just started now. Okay, so you can see the app here, which is my app, and you can see infos. Now this is added by, this S is added by Django by default, but you can still override it with there is a term we use, I think verbose. So you can use verbose function to give it what you want it to be. So but if you look at the info, we can click on it and we will see that it is an empty place. You can select info to change, so we can now add some of our info. So I will now say Chinedu Emmanuel, and I'll now add some of my descriptions. Let's go to this place. I don't know where to get some details about myself, but let me just write. I am a website developer with experience in both front end and back end development. Okay, so let's save it. Now watch what will appear here. It says info.object1, and if I add anything again, it is also going to say info.object2. Now this is because we didn't tell Django how to display this thing. So to tell Django how to display it, we're going to use the string method to do that. So let's go to IDE, and on the models.py, just down here, we need to create it as a function. So what we did now is we create this function underscore string, and we pass self to it, and then we return self.title, which is the title of that info. So we can go back to this and refresh. You now see Chinedu Emmanuel. Now this is just how to return that. So let's do the same thing on the project so that we can see the project as well. So on the project, I am just going to copy this. So on the project now, I am going to paste this. And one more thing is we need to also register the project. So to register the project, we can just do this same thing. So I'll just copy this and repeat it. Admin.site.register, and we now register the projects. Okay, so this is the project. So we have registered the project, and let's make sure we run this server. And run python manage.py run server again. Okay, so we can go back there and we go to the home, and you can see we have projects, and if you open it, it is empty. So we can now add our projects from here. So let's add e-commerce website development and e-commerce to help my clients manage their sales seamlessly despite the location barriers. Okay, I can upload an image of the e-commerce. Let's go there and look for a particular image for that. I think it should be, the image should be on my screenshots. I'm going to put up this one and I am going to save. Now this has been added. That's all. So we can now come back to our views to make sure we are rendering it on the front end, and that's the last part of this video. So we have a contest, and we are returning the object. So one more thing is, I also want to return projects. So it should be projects should be equal to projects dot objects dot all. So this is objects, not, this is going to be objects dot all. And let's make this one a full dictionary. So I am going to add one more dictionary to it, one more info, and that should be project, sorry, that should be projects will be projects. So this is just what I need to do now. Let's see if this is still giving us some issue. So objects.all. Alright, so I just corrected the mistake. So I made this one capital letter, and that's where we solved the problem. So this is just a variable, and this is also another variable. I'm just trying to explain these things very well. So these are variables, and they are just trying to return all the information that we have on each table or on each object in the database. So this is a different table on the database, and we want to return everything. That's why we said info.objects.all. Same thing with the project, and we must assign them So this is just let's explain it. So this is, we imported this model that we created here. The models we created here, you can see info and projects. We imported them into the views. That's what we did here. And we wanted to assign them as a variable, and we made it a dictionary of this context, and we added it to the HTML. Now, if we run python manage.py run server, I don't think we will have any issue now. Python manage.py run server. We shouldn't have any problem at this moment. All right, the server is now running. Let's check. Okay, so everything is working perfectly. And one thing I want also to show you is that, remember when we created this directory called project_images, and we saved one image. So if you open this, I think if I go to my static under the images, no, under the project images, I'm supposed to have the image there. Okay, see it here. So project images, and we can see it here. All right, so this is it. Let's now render dynamic contents to the HTML. So we go to the templates and into the index.html, and the first part is we can actually render the title as a dynamic content. So we can use it like this. We can bring it in like this, and we can just say info dot title. So let's refresh this place and see what happened. Okay, so we are supposed to use a for loop for this. So I am going to add a for loop. So I am going to say for, let's use info in, or rather let's use for x in info, and we can end for loop here, and for, so that this is going to load the for loop and loop through all the information we have there. Let's try it back. All right, so I made some changes. I changed this one to capital letters and this to capital letter as well. So, and that's because what I have here is capital letter, like what I have here is capital letter, and I have assigned this info as capital letter in this place, and whatever I should have here is what I should have here. So that's just the small changes that I made, and then I now use for loop to loop in the title. So I can also do that at this place. So I am going to remove this because I don't want to also return or be returning those static HTML. So I can actually come here, just take this one, copy that, and take it to this place. And I will also use for loop to get that. So let's say for x in info, and we end for. So let's see if that is also, if that is also working. So you can see this is now returning our dynamic content. So if I go to the admin now and go to the info and change this to Richard Emmanuel and save it. If I come here and refresh, you have Richard Emmanuel, and you can see Richard Emmanuel has changed in this place. Okay, back. I am going to take this end for here, cut it off, and put it just below here, or rather undo this, put it just below here. And then this whole write-up, we're going to remove it, and we're going to make it a dynamic content. So this is going to be x.description. Let's see what we would have. So this is what we have now. So all the information is gone. And if you go to the admin, and you can see that this is what the information we have there is what is returning. So I can just copy this and duplicate it, and save it. Now let's go to the front end. If you refresh, you will see this. So this is now returning a dynamic content. Now for the project, which is the final part of the whole thing, we'll do the same thing. So we are going to just copy this for loop, and we'll go back to the project. On the project aspect of it, payment, so we need to get to the, so this is the area where I have my project. So at this top here, I'll paste this, and it's going to be for X in projects, and let me also copy this end for, because I don't have the time to start typing. In fact, I don't have the energy, and I am going to do end for here. And these other ones, we don't actually need them again. So I am going to do what? I'm going to remove them. Then on this place, I am going to now call on Django template, and this is going to be the x.title. Let's see if that would work also. So this did not work. We need to see that we have the project. So this is going to be project. So this is going to be project. Let's try it back, and it says for X in project. So project object is not iterable. Okay, I think I now see where the error is coming from. So we are making a mistake on the iteration. So let's get to that. So this is where the problem is coming from. So I have corrected it. So if we come back to this, so we can then change this one to dynamic content. So this is going to be project dot description, and finally images is supposed to be project dot image. I think is it image. Let's look at the model. Okay, so the model is image, so it's gonna be image. All right, let's try it out. So we have this. So this is working. So it's just not returning the image. We'll correct that in a few minutes. Instead of doing this, let's do something. So we need to put in .url. I think that's the issue there. Let's try it back. All right, now one of the major issues why this image is not actually displaying on the front end. Wait. On the front end is because we don't actually have an image in the media. So we are supposed to come here and create a media. So and then we go to, so you create a folder called media, or just leave it like that. Don't create any folder. There is another way I will show you around. So what you do is you go to your settings.py and you set your media URL as this, and you set your media root as this. Now when you are done setting it, that's if you want to use this on a development server, what you need to do is go to your project directory and add the URLs on the URL. So you just need to import these two things and then you add this. So this will enable you to be able to run your image in a in the development server and display it anywhere on the website. So when you are done with that, you are good to go. You run your server and go to your database and add a project. So let's add a project. I am going to add this project. Then I'm going to add this as the description of the project. And I am going to select a particular project. I select this image and save it. So let's refresh this and we have this. So it's working perfectly. So let's add one more project. So let's say investment website development. I can just copy this content because the energy to type this is not there. And we can just select a picture for that. I'll select this one, upload it, save it. Now go to your front end again, refresh, and you see this image. So this is the image we have there. But this doesn't give a very nice look and feel. I think there should be a way to change this. So let's go to this index.html, row col 1, row col md, and then this. Let me remove this first and see how this will look. So it's now covering the whole page, but the real fact is that it is returning the content. You can then go through your HTML to fix it and make it side by side to each other. So I'm done with this. You can just follow up with the same procedure and create your contact me. So you create a model for contact me and you add these two attributes for the contact me. So this one is going to be a text field, where this one is going to be a character field. That's a char field. And once you're done with that, you can then do the same thing here. But this time around, you're not going to be doing object.get object.all, because object.all is a get method to retrieve from the database. But this time around, you are sending to the database. So you are going to set your form as a post method, and you then validate your form. So I'll stop this video at this place. I'll see you in next class. I have to go and sleep. I'll see you next time. Take care.